So first, I want to say thank you for having me. I learned something when I went to the UU in Greenville, and they said something similar to this. Changed it a little bit because I wanted to convey to you guys how important you are. Yes, we talk about how important this place is, but I want to talk about how important you are. And so I want to say that I treasure this sacred time now with you. And getting into today's sermon, which is about Women's History Month and how not all the women in our lives are famous. Not all the women who shape our lives are famous. First, I have to just take a moment and go, women. I gotta love them. Is that a surprise? I can't even believe I was asked to speak on this topic. I mean, it's like, throwing me candy. And I do love me some candy. And I love some female spirit. I love me some men too, and male spirit. And today's talk is not to take away from anyone else. Giving people love, you've heard the phrase, it's not like pie. It's not, if I give women X amount of attention, it doesn't take away from what I give other people. It just celebrates what I'm giving to them. So, and I'm speaking to everyone who identifies as female. And those of you who don't identify as female know that I still love you as well. But today is about the ladies. So why do we have Women's History Month? I'm gonna take a very high-tech, one-handed vote. You ready to vote? Okay, here are the 5 options. And I want you're gonna have to listen closely because it's tricky. First, number 1, if you're gonna vote for number 1, it's because all of the other months of the year are Men's History Month. If you wanna vote for number 2, it's because women are awesome. If you wanna vote for number 3, it's because history has diminished the roles women have played. And number 4 vote is because women have done some flippin' amazing things and have been denied credit for the things we've done. In fact, I've learned a lot getting ready for this talk. Or you can vote for number 5, all of the above. So just hold your hand up with your number. Well, hey, did y'all have questions? Is that what you're doing? No, okay. So that's why we have Women's History Month. So which women made a difference in your world? My life has been influenced by some famous women and some not so famous women. On the famous side, there's so many impressive women like the ones we talked about in our Persistence book, like Marie Curie, the mother of X-ray and radiation, like Ada Lovelace, the world's first computer programmer, the world's first computer programmer, not the first woman, and not the first woman in the US, but the world's first. Like Nellie Bly, who through investigative journalism uncovered abuse in mental health treatment, factory worker conditions, and all of those other things she did. Margaret Sanger, who was the mother of birth control, who we need to celebrate right now. Yeah, because it's getting dangerous out there. Eleanor Roosevelt, who used her role as First Lady to advocate for human rights, women's rights, and children's causes. Katherine Johnson, who was a mathematician who was instrumental in getting us into space and back. It's important that she did the second part of her job too. Like Betty Friedan, who wrote The Feminine Mystique and went on to co-found the National Organization for Women. Like Jane Goodall, who started off by studying chimpanzees, our closest relative, and has now become an advocate for conservation and for climate activism, and she's a climate activist. Like Gloria Steinem, who founded Miss Magazine and many other, she did many other good writing, and she was an activist, or she is an activist for women's rights. Like my girl, Dolly Parton. I love me some Dolly. Yeah, Dolly started the Imagination Library where she gives free books to children every month just to make sure they read, and she did it in honor of her father, who never had the opportunity to learn to read. So imagine that, what she came from to do that. And she also donated a bunch of money to support the government's development of the Moderna COVID vaccine. So she puts her money where her mouth is. And I swear to you, this name is on my paper. I didn't just pick it up from someone else, but Dawn Staley, the University of South Carolina basketball coach, who empowers her players to become whole and productive women. Two of my favorites are Oprah Winfrey and Maya Angelou. Oprah taught me many things, the biggest of which is that it's okay to be gay. She had so many coming out day shows where she interviewed people on coming out and what it means to them and what they've gone through. And she treated them, get this, like any other person. It's crazy, but it's true. And so she taught me that, you know, the whole world doesn't hate me just because I'm gay. And I can't tell you how much that meant to a middle schooler or high schooler who was surrounded by nothing but a straight world that was very conservative in a small town on an island. So that meant a lot to me. She also introduced me to Dr. Maya Angelou and to Maya's teachings. Oprah called Maya her mother, sister, friend. I love that phrase. In her, Oprah and Maya's phrases, because, you know, I know them so well, I can call them by their first names. In their relationship, I saw a true demonstration of the many roles the two women can play in each other's lives. Not just a friend, but a mother, sister, friend. And then, of course, there's the heavy hitter, my top shero, Dr. Maya Angelou, who was born Marguerite Annie Johnson, and gave herself, her name Maya came from her brother, who was always saying, "That's Maya's sister." And so she became Maya. Her last name, Angelou, which is spelled, it looks like it should be pronounced Angelou, but it is her change of a spelling of one of her husbands, ex-husbands, who was Greek, Angelos, and she adopted Angelo, but spelled it Angelou. And she taught me so many things through her interviews, appearances on Oprah's show, and in shows that were solely dedicated to her. And also, of course, through her writings. I believe I've read everything that she's published, and I think she's the only person that I've done that with, so she means a lot. She's held my attention because you just never knew what Maya was gonna do next in her books. She's had a fascinating life. My favorite attribute of hers is her willingness to stand up for the oppressed and for what she thinks is right. She's made mistakes in life, and she owned them. She's done some really great things, and she shared them. She's bared her soul and her childhood for all of us. Can you even imagine the strength that takes to lay open your entire childhood when you've had traumas, good and bad things happen? I'm impressed. But who has really had the biggest influence on my life? It's been the non-famous women. It's been the women with no Wikipedia page. It's been the women who, if you Googled them, you might find an embarrassing Facebook post, but that's about all you'll find. And these women have been tremendous in forming who I am. Now, I will tell you, I'm a daddy's girl. I'm sure that's not a surprise. He brought home a motorcycle for me when I was 5 years old. He went to the store to get this boat motor he'd been saving for forever, and he came home with a motorcycle. That's who he was, who he is. And so I was a daddy's girl. And then I started realizing all the things that Mom was doing. So it started making me think about all the other roles that women play. So these women that I'm going to talk about have shaped me, they've held me, they've laughed and cried with me, and they've made me who I am. The first is my 4-year-old kindergarten teacher, Mrs. Burns. Oh, did I have a crush on her at 4 years old. She made me feel special and safe in this new world of school when I was 4. It was a difficult time because right away, as soon as I walked in the classroom, I knew I was different from all of the other little girls there and that I wasn't going to fit in with them. I did end up giving up Miss Burns for Timmy Timmons, who became my boyfriend because he was available and he pushed the merry-go-round faster than anybody else in the class, and I loved me some merry-go-round. But I never forgot Mrs. Burns. And then there was Miss Woods. She was my elementary school gym teacher. What a cliche, right? She happened to be Mrs. Burns' sister. I did not have a crush on her because I was so intimidated. I felt pretty sure that she could just stomp me like an ant if she wanted to, because she was very powerful. She showed me that a woman or a girl can be different from the other females around her and still be a part of the group and do great things. She was a heck of a nice person. Interestingly, their brother was my softball coach for several years because their niece, his daughter, and I were on the same team, and that, my friends, is life in a very small island town. So we had the whole darn Woods family. And my mom worked with my friend Cindy's mom, so we had it all tangled up. But probably the biggest influence on my life, as you could imagine, was my mom. She was the first and always, so far. My mom actually ran out and across the street and took the baseball away from the boys and said they could have it back when they understood that I could play just as well as they could and that they were to let me play baseball. So, yeah, she's a tiny little Irish woman, and she will cut you, so you don't want to mess with her. She told me that I was just as good as the boys and had the right to play sports if I wanted to, and then she proceeded to carry me to gymnastics, softball, and basketball on a continuous loop forever and ever, it seemed. Because, you know, as soon as the real season was over, there was All-Stars. The All-Stars was over, there was the next game. And she hung in there with me. She also demonstrated through her life what a strong woman looked like and what she could achieve. And my mom met my dad when she was 14. She actually dumped a Coke over his head in the movie theater so he would talk to her. It worked. They've been together ever since she was 14. When she was 16, she dropped out of high school because she wanted to marry my dad, and you couldn't be married and be in school at that time. After that, she got her GED, and she raised 2 children. My knuckleheaded brother came first, and 5 years later, knuckleheaded daughter, that would be me. You know, my mom put up with a lot from us. We were very active children. I one time stole the golf cart, ran over her foot, broke her toe, ran over a new can of paint, exploded it into an area that had just been painted a different color, and into the swing set, and then into the fence. So I got a lot of damage out of that one, and my mom hung in there. When I got a little older, she went to work part-time, and as I got older, she went to work full-time, and she started off in civil service as a nursery aide, kindergarten aide, and she ended up the highest-ranked civil servant highest-ranked female civil servant outside of the D.C. area. I was impressed, still impressed with that. That took a lot, and they asked her to go to D.C., and she was like, she's a Southern lady, so she politely said, hell no. So that's how I ended up growing up here. Then there was, of course, another gym teacher, my middle school gym teacher, Mrs. Martin, who let me be the teacher's pet when life was getting particularly rough. She treated me with respect like she would have treated an adult. She listened to me during a time when I was processing a lot, and I couldn't really relate to people my own age. Of course, I had a little crush on her, but it was way more than that. I truly appreciated her. I wanted to be like her. She let me into her world and showed me that, you know, I can be just like her if I wanted to. Now, the biggest influence on my adult life, of course, is my wife, Robin. She's taught me how to be in a relationship where I allow myself, I demand to be loved and treated well. You see, I didn't really believe that I was worthy of love like that until Robin came along. She has lovingly taught me so much about being a good partner, and I'm thankful for her every day. I do recall one day, many years ago, before we got it fully together, we were having an argument, right? And nowadays we can't argue because we start laughing. And it's just like it's like a girls' slumber party at our house. There are just no adults. So it's a lot of fun. But on this particular day, she yelled at me. And that's a trigger for me because I had an abusive relationship before that. And as a friend of mine quoted and told me and explained to me, when the yelling stops, the hitting begins. I've learned from that. And I had that in one relationship when I was younger. So that's a trigger for me. And I turned around to Robin and I said, "How dare you talk to me that way, yell at me? And how dare me sit here and take it? I'm not going to take it. You don't get to do that." And it was in that moment that I realized I felt safe enough in my relationship, and I trusted Robin enough to demonstrate that I was finally learning the hard lesson of loving myself enough to stand up for myself. And had she not done that, I'm not sure I would have learned that. But now that lesson's learned. So, yeah, so we don't yell anymore. And then another influence on my life, I have a friend named Jenny with whom we quarantined during COVID. And she has taught me, she's gently taught me to trust people enough to show them who I am and to drop the walls that I didn't fully realize that I had around my heart. For me, I always thought I was upfront with everybody, but I realized I was very guarded. I was hiding part of me, just wanting to show only the best parts. And now I just can show that all to her. It means a lot to me. And she does so much for many other people. And Robin and I have decided we want to be like her when we grow up, if we grow up. So thank you to Jenny. And then this is interesting. I have a friend named Holly. I've never met Holly's mom, but I've learned from Holly's mom because of what I refer to as tribal knowledge. And that's when you hear something within your little tribe, and then you share it with others down the line, and it starts off as one little thing, and it just balloons, and everyone learns from it. So Holly's mom told Holly one day, she said, "A relationship is like a beautiful statue. And if every time you walk by it, you just take a little chink out of it with your hammer, then eventually it's not the same work of art anymore. And in fact, it'll become barely recognizable." So that phrase has helped me remember to treat those people I love carefully, lovingly, and respectfully. You can't undo those words. You can't undamage that beautiful work of art. And I believe this one bit of wisdom has helped me in every relationship I've had since Holly shared it with me. And I wanted to share it with you. So yay, Holly's mom, whatever her name is. And one final shiro I'll share with you is Harriet Hancock. Many of you know her. Harriet is the mother of Pride here in Columbia. Harriet taught me lessons before I even met her. I knew the story of Harriet, the woman who loved her gay son so much that she founded the first chapter of South Carolina's PFLAG, which stands for Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. She founded that back when, being gay meant being hated and potentially being hurt. I was going through an exceptionally rough time with my parents just after they realized that I was gay. My future education, college education, and my financial support was tenuous. I was a 19-year-old out on my own, but I had my parents' support, in college, starting college, and they realized I was gay, and it was a hell of a row. Mom and Dad knocked me out with one hit. They'd never hit me before, never hit me since. And then Mom chased me with a gun, a little pistol. I don't think it was loaded, but damn, it was scary. And since then, we've come a long way. I thought they were going to cut me off financially and leave me without a place to stay, financial support, and without their love at any moment. But I just had this strong feeling deep down in my soul that if I needed her and if I could get to her, that Harriet would help me. It was many years, like 26 years, before I ever met her. But when I did, I cried, and I explained to her what she's meant to me without even meeting me. That's tribal knowledge. That's listening to people around you and understanding what your resources are and learning who can be a support for you. She was so well worth the wait. I'm thankful now to count Harriet among my short list of very treasured close friends. She really is all that. And then I want to talk real quickly about this congregation, because this congregation right here, these people in this room, and the ones who are absent today, who need to get their butts here next week. Of course, I'll be in Beaufort, but they need to get their butts here. These people, this congregation has so many amazing, amazing women, and men too, but this is about the ladies. So many wonderful women. The women here have taught me what it means to care for a beloved community, what it feels like to serve others spiritually, what putting others before oneself looks like, not just talks like, but looks like, what it is to love so many people at one time, what it is to work together. I love and respect them all, but I'm not willing to call any names because I'm scared that I will upset or hurt or offend someone by forgetting to call her name while I'm up here on the spot, nervous as a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs. That's an old one, isn't it? You haven't heard that in a minute. But I feel my tail over here, and I don't want it to get rocked on. But I love this congregation, and today in particular, I want to mention how much I care about the women here and the work that each of you do for this congregation. I hope there have been many women in your lives who've helped you grow, who've loved you fully, who've supported you quietly, even when you didn't realize they were doing it. Maybe one day you'll realize it, though. I hope they've listened to you, taught you, and walked beside you during your difficult times. So I'd like to take a moment just for us to individually, silently, think about the many women who've been important in your life, regardless of, from where they come, where they live, who they are. Perhaps they know how important they are to you, perhaps they don't. But let's just take a moment to silently reflect on that. I've learned something in this congregation. And Chuck, I learned this from you. I learned that when we speak of someone and we want to send our positive energy or our hurt over something that's happened to someone, that saying their name is a powerful thing. And so I'd like to apply this practice to the women who've helped shape your life. And so let's just take a moment to say, if you're so moved, to quietly say aloud the names of those women who have influenced your life, only if you're comfortable doing so. So let's just take a moment. Jackie Coleman. Stephanie Martin. Diane Schrader. Dana Gilchrist. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for participating. Thank you for listening. You may not realize it, but what you do and say makes a difference in the lives of those around you. So if there's someone in your life who may not fully realize what a difference they've made in your life, I implore you to consider finding a way to tell them how important they are to you, because saying their name matters. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Ivy. That was wonderful. Please join us in the closing hymn in your teal hymnal, number 1026, If Every Woman in the World. And Janice is our song leader.
Oh, we got some drums added here too. All right, Kevin. All right, let's get some energy back in this one now. If every woman in the world had her mind set on freedom, if every woman in the world dreamed a sweet dream of peace, if every woman in every nation, young and old, each generation, held her hands out in love, there would be no more. If every man in the world held his mind set on freedom, if every brother stood with brother as a witness for peace, if every man of every nation, young and old, each generation, held his hands out in the name of love, there would be no more. If every leader in the world shared a vision of freedom, if every leader in the world shared a sweet dream of peace, if every leader in every nation worked for justice and liberation, holding hands out in the name of love, there would be no more. If every nation in the world set a true course for freedom, if every nation raised its children in the culture of peace, and all our sons and all our daughters reach for friendship across the waters, peace by one to be enemies, there would be no more.
Our closing words today come from 3 different Chiros. The first is from Madeleine Albright, and she said, "It took me quite a long time to develop a voice, and now that I have it, I'm not going to be silent." Oprah Winfrey said something that's really important right now as we're going into all this political stuff that's going on. She said, "The future of life as we know it is being determined by everything we're doing and not doing now." And of course, the heavy hitter, Dr. Maya Angelou said, "You alone are enough. You have nothing to prove to anyone." Thank you for your time today. Thanks.
You may be seated. Each Sunday at the end of our time together, we extinguish our chalice. May its flame glow gently in our hearts and light our way until we are together again. You got it for me, thank you.
Am I supposed to extinguish it as well?
Wonderful, thank you. Thank you, Audrey. All right. It's always good to have help from other women. And now, please stand and sing the congregational benediction.
Blessings of truth be upon us. May the
And this concludes our service.